Have you ever wondered if the destiny of the world's most powerful nation was shaped not in the halls of Congress, but behind the heavy oak doors of a secret society? A brotherhood so exclusive that only a chosen few, destined for the highest offices, ever glimpse its dark rituals. What if I told you that several American presidents may have been groomed not in the public eye, but in the candlelit chambers of a single, mysterious club? Welcome to KTK History, where we peel back the layers of hidden alliances, forgotten conspiracies, and the shadowy networks that have quietly steered the course of our civilization. Today, we step into the ivy-covered walls of Yale University to uncover the chilling truth behind Skull and Bones, the secret society whispered to be the cradle of America's elite, a place where future leaders are forged in secrecy. They call it the Tomb. Hidden behind high, unmarked stone walls on High Street, in the heart of Yale University's campus, the building looks more like a mausoleum than a place of gathering. No windows break the imposing facade. The thick, pale limestone is streaked with centuries of rain. Gargoyle-like fixtures loom from its corners, and iron doors stand eternally shut. At night, a cold mist often crawls across the ground of old campus, shrouding the tomb in a spectral glow. Students returning from late-night library sessions claim they have heard whispers drifting from the sealed building or seen faint candlelight flicker through the cracks of its fortress-like walls. Yale is a place of traditions, where Gothic towers cast long shadows over pristine lawns. Yet among all the legends whispered in its ancient halls, none is darker or more persistent than those surrounding the tomb. It is a place so tied to mystery that many Yale students walk past it every day without knowing what it is, while others know it only by reputation as the headquarters of Skull and Bones, the most feared and exclusive secret society in America. The building's origins trace back to the mid-19th century. In 1856, 24 years after Skull and Bones was founded, the society's alumni pooled their considerable resources to erect a permanent home, the Tomb, on Yale's campus. Architects designed it to resemble a Greek temple from the outside, but rumors have long held that the interior is filled with dark chambers lined with skulls, bones, and strange relics from around the world. Some tales even claim there are hidden tunnels connecting the tomb to other buildings on campus or to secret underground vaults. Walking by the tomb in the early morning, it appears lifeless. But those who dare to approach at night, when the campus sleeps, often report unsettling encounters. The sensation of eyes watching them from unseen places, sudden drops in temperature, or the echo of hurried footsteps inside, though the building should be empty. For generations, Yale's janitors and night guards have traded stories about a woman's sobbing heard near the tomb's steps, or a phantom figure glimpsed slipping into the shadows during late patrols. Legends say that every Thursday and Sunday night during the spring of a student's junior year, the season of tapping new members, hooded figures slip through the courtyard, entering the tomb with ritual precision. Some of these meetings have been glimpsed by curious onlookers, who describe hearing chants rising and falling like a dirge, punctuated by sudden bursts of laughter or sharp cries. It is as though the tomb becomes a theater where future power brokers play out a drama meant to bind them together for life. Over time, many have tried to penetrate the tomb's secrets. Reporters, Curious undergraduates and even rival societies have attempted to gain access, but almost all have failed. One notable exception occurred in 1876, when 3 Yale students, members of the rival Skull and Key Society, broke into the tomb one night. They claimed to have found human skulls labeled with the names of famous figures, including one marked Geronimo, swords hanging from the walls, and a chamber designed like a crypt. Whether these claims were true or embellished, they cemented the tomb's reputation as a place of dark ritual. For some, the tomb is the physical embodiment of the contradiction at the heart of Skull and Bones. It is a structure both mundane and terrifying, sitting in plain sight yet shrouded in an impenetrable fog of secrecy. The building itself has become an icon of American conspiracy lore, appearing in countless books, documentaries, and even Hollywood thrillers. It is depicted as the cradle of hidden power, a place where world-changing decisions may have been whispered into being by candlelight. Beyond rumors, the tomb is also a monument to the wealth and influence of Skull and Bones' alumni. The funds to build and maintain it were provided by Bonesmen, who went on to dominate Wall Street, Capitol Hill, and even the Oval Office. Every generation of Bonesmen, it is said, contributes to the tomb's upkeep, ensuring that it stands untouched by time or university bureaucracy. Some claim the society's endowment rivals that of small colleges, all to maintain this single silent building. The local folklore around the tomb adds yet another layer of intrigue. Some students say the building was constructed over an ancient Native American burial ground, and the spirits of the wronged dead are restless within its walls. Others whisper that a curse hangs over the tomb, that any outsider who tries to expose its secrets will suffer ruin or madness. Such tales are impossible to prove, but they give the tomb an aura of Gothic dread that no campus tour brochure ever mentions. Even Yale faculty over the years have remarked on the building's eerie presence. In letters from the early 1900s, professors described the tomb as an abomination of secrecy and warned of its sinister aura. One letter written in 1912 by a skeptical mathematics professor called it a castle of shadows for men who wish to move the world unseen. Today, tourists sometimes drift past the tomb on guided tours of Yale. Guides often skip over it or mention it only in hushed tones, focusing instead on the university's grand libraries or famous alumni. But for those who know where to look, the tomb stands as a constant reminder that within the ivy-covered serenity of Yale beats the heart of a secret, one that has survived wars, scandals, and generations of attempts to pry it open. It is said that if you stand alone outside the tomb at midnight during a new moon, you can hear a low hum, like distant chanting. Some claim it is the sound of old bonesmen communing across time, calling the living to uphold their oath. Others believe it is merely the wind swirling through Yale's narrow alleys. Yet in the dark silence of the campus night, when stone towers seem to lean closer and shadows stretch impossibly long, it is hard not to feel that something is listening, and perhaps even now, deciding the fate of tomorrow. Because in the story of Skull and Bones, the tomb is not just a building. It is a symbol of power protected by secrecy, a place where the seeds of influence are planted in darkness, waiting to bloom in the halls of the world's mightiest institutions. In the spring of 1832, a young Yale student named William Huntington Russell returned from his studies abroad with ideas that would forever change the landscape of American higher education and perhaps even the course of the nation itself. While in Europe, Russell had encountered secret societies in Germany that traced their traditions back centuries to medieval guilds and the powerful Bavarian Illuminati. These organizations were known for strict hierarchies, elaborate initiation rites, and an unbreakable code of loyalty among their members. To Russell, these societies offered a blueprint for creating a new American aristocracy, one that would unify the sons of the country's elite in a bond of secrecy and mutual advancement. Russell saw that America in the early 19th century was a nation still finding its identity. The Revolutionary War had ended just 5 decades earlier, but many old European ideas about nobility and class continued to shape society. The young United States was a place of both boundless opportunity and deep inequality. In the great cities rising along the Atlantic coast, powerful families were already amassing fortunes in trade, banking, and land. Yet without formal titles of nobility, like those in Europe, these families lacked a cohesive social structure to maintain and pass on their power. Russell envisioned a secret society that could fill that void, forging a hidden aristocracy bound by oaths stronger than any public contract. Back in New Haven, Russell and Alphonso Taft, who would later become Attorney General of the United States and father to a future president, gathered a group of 14 other Yale seniors to form a new brotherhood. They called it the Order of Skull and Bones, choosing the skull and crossbones as their emblem. In Europe, that symbol had long been associated with death, danger, and secret knowledge. By adopting it, Russell signaled that his society would not be a mere social club, but an organization rooted in ancient traditions of power and mystery. The year 1832 was a time of political and social ferment in America. The country was in the midst of the Jacksonian era, a period of rising populism and fierce battles over banking and federal power. Andrew Jackson himself was known for his distrust of secretive financial interests, but at elite colleges like Yale, many sons of bankers, merchants, and politicians were coming of age. They were eager to secure their family's influence in a rapidly changing nation. Skull and Bones offered them a way to do so, providing a network that extended beyond campus and promised lifelong support. Rumors quickly spread that Russell had been inspired not just by German student fraternities, but by the actual Illuminati, the secret society founded in 1776 in Bavaria by Adam Weishaupt. Though the original Illuminati was suppressed by European monarchies in the late 18th century, its legends endured, fueling tales of a hidden cabal manipulating governments and revolutions. While there is no direct evidence connecting Skull and Bones to the Illuminati, the similarities in structure, symbols, and emphasis on secrecy have kept conspiracy theories alive for nearly 2 centuries. The structure of Skull and Bones reflected European secret societies in its rigid hierarchy and codified rituals. Members were known as knights during their senior year and as patriarchs after graduation, a system that evoked medieval chivalric orders. New members were carefully chosen each spring through a process known as tapping, in which 15 juniors were selected from the Yale student body. These initiates were considered the most promising young men of their generation, chosen for intelligence, leadership, family connections, and ambition. During initiation, each new member was required to share personal secrets, often of a deeply private nature. These confessions bound members together through mutual vulnerability, ensuring loyalty and discouraging betrayal. Rituals took place inside the tomb, which soon became the society's permanent home. The rites combined elements of European Freemasonry, classical mythology, and uniquely American symbols, creating a mystique that grew more powerful with each generation. The early decades of Skull and Bones coincided with a period of enormous change in the United States. The nation was expanding westward, and industrialization was beginning to reshape the economy. As railroads stretched across the landscape and factories rose in growing cities, Bonesmen and their families often stood at the forefront of these developments, using their connections to secure lucrative contracts, political appointments, and social prominence. The society quickly became a conduit for the flow of information and influence, helping its members navigate the shifting currents of power in a young and ambitious country. By mid-century, Skull and Bones had established itself as the preeminent secret society at Yale. Its membership roles included future senators, governors, judges, and captains of industry. The society's success inspired imitators, and other secret societies sprang up across American campuses, but none would match the prestige or mystery of Skull and Bones. The aura of the society grew with every class of initiates, as stories of bizarre rituals, hidden treasures, and lifelong loyalty spread beyond Yale to the wider world. In the decades that followed, the society's connection to European secret orders continued to color the imaginations of outsiders. Some whispered that Skull and Bones was not just inspired by the Illuminati, but was its direct descendant in the New World, a vessel for an ancient mission to guide the destinies of nations from the shadows. These suspicions only deepened as Bonesmen began to appear in positions of extraordinary power, shaping legislation, foreign policy, and finance. For William Russell, who died in 1885, the creation of Skull and Bones represented a lasting legacy. He had founded an American institution that endured far beyond his own lifetime, one that would knit together generations of the country's most influential families. In his final years, Russell watched as the society he had started became a rite of passage for the nation's elite, a silent engine of ambition operating beneath the polite surface of American democracy. Today, nearly 2 centuries after its founding, Skull and Bones remains an enduring symbol of secret power. Its birth during a period of profound national change, its inspiration from European traditions of hidden influence, and its rapid ascent to prominence all combined to make it a unique fixture in American life. It is a reminder that even in a country founded on ideals of equality and openness, there have always been those who seek to shape history from behind closed doors. The heart of Skull and Bones lies in its rituals, the carefully orchestrated ceremonies that turn an ordinary Yale student into a lifelong member of an elite brotherhood. These rites are designed to bind initiates together, creating a bond so strong it can outlast careers, fortunes, and even political ideologies. At the center of these rituals is the oath of silence, an unbreakable promise that what happens within the walls of the tomb will never be spoken of to anyone outside. Each year, the selection of new members begins in the spring of their junior year. 15 students are tapped, chosen for their intelligence, charisma, family connections, or potential for future influence. The tap ceremony itself is a moment of high drama on campus. Members of Skull and Bones appear unannounced, clad in dark suits, and solemnly inform each chosen student that they have been selected. To accept is to step into a world of secrets and lifelong obligations. Once chosen, the initiates enter the tomb, where the atmosphere is carefully crafted to unsettle and impress. The chambers are dimly lit by candlelight, and the walls are lined with grim artifacts collected over generations. Skulls and bones, some real and others symbolic, stare from alcoves. Swords hang from the walls. Strange banners bearing cryptic symbols drape the halls. The most enigmatic of these symbols is the number 322, which appears carved into stone, embroidered on robes, and inscribed in documents. The meaning of 322 has been debated for over a century, with some scholars linking it to the year 322 BC, the death of Alexander the Great, which signified the division of his empire and the rise of secret pacts among generals. Others believe it references a chapter number from an obscure German society manual that inspired the founding of Skull and Bones. As the initiation ceremony begins, each new member is led into the inner sanctum of the tomb. Here they kneel before senior members known as patriarchs, who preside over the ritual with an air of solemn authority. In this chamber, the initiate must recite the oath of silence, swearing absolute secrecy regarding all society matters. The words of the oath are carefully guarded, passed down orally from generation to generation, but it is understood to include pledges of loyalty that supersede all other commitments. The most intimate and controversial part of the initiation is known simply as the confession. Each new member must reveal deeply personal secrets, details about family, fears, ambitions, and past transgressions. These confessions are not just a rite of passage, but a mechanism of control. By sharing these secrets, members create a web of mutual vulnerability. They know that to betray the society would risk exposure of their own darkest moments, ensuring silence and loyalty for life. Some former Bonesmen have described the confession as a powerful moment of catharsis that forges trust. Others see it as a psychological tool designed to manipulate and bind young men to a cause larger than themselves. Either way, it is the centerpiece of Skull and Bones' enduring power. Once the confession is complete, the initiate is given a new name, a nickname used only within the society. These names can be playful, sinister, or cryptic, drawn from historical figures, mythical characters, or private jokes among members. The new identity symbolizes rebirth, the shedding of one's old self, and the acceptance of a new life within the brotherhood. The initiation also includes elaborate performances and symbolic trials. Some reports describe initiates being made to lie in coffins to simulate death and rebirth, a ritual meant to reinforce the idea of transformation. Other ceremonies involve dramatic reenactments of historical events or fictional scenes, all designed to instill lessons about power, loyalty, and secrecy. Throughout the tomb, symbols serve as constant reminders of the society's history and mission. The skull and crossbones dominate nearly every room, a memento mori meant to remind members of mortality and the urgency of their ambitions. Ancient swords hang crossed over stone mantels. Candles flicker beside glass cases holding letters from famous Bonesmen who went on to shape the world beyond Yale. Paintings of past members stare down with stern expressions, reinforcing the weight of tradition. Once the initiation is complete, The new members spend long nights learning the lore of the society. Older members teach them the code words and secret handshakes used to identify one another in public, even decades later. Stories are shared about the exploits of past Bonesmen, tales that blur the line between fact and legend. These stories teach initiates that they are part of an unbroken chain of influence stretching back to the founding of the society and beyond. One of the most mysterious traditions is the reading of the society's founding documents. These writings lay out the society's mission to unite the elite, maintain influence across generations, and support members in positions of power. Some versions of these texts are said to include references to ancient orders in Europe, suggesting a connection to traditions that predate the United States itself. Whether these links are historical fact or myth, they add to the mystique and sense of destiny that pervades Skull and Bones. Another key element of the rituals is the induction into the Patriarch's Council. Once a Bonesman graduates, he becomes a patriarch and is expected to support younger members, offering advice, connections, and sometimes financial help. This system creates a self-perpetuating network that extends into the highest levels of business, politics, and the military. Members know that even if they stumble in life, the society stands ready to catch them. The oath of silence binds all these elements together. It is not merely a promise, but a core tenet of the society's existence. Breaking the oath is said to bring severe consequences, from social ostracism to the loss of powerful allies. Though stories of punishments are mostly whispered, they serve as cautionary tales that keep members aligned and obedient. Over the decades, the power of these rituals has proven remarkably durable. Even in an age of social media and constant surveillance, Bonesmen continue to guard the details of their ceremonies with near religious devotion. Few have ever broken ranks to reveal more than vague hints about what happens inside the tomb. Those who do speak often find themselves dismissed by their peers, their credibility questioned, and their accounts lost in a haze of rumor and contradiction. The rituals, symbols, and secrets of Skull and Bones have ensured its survival for nearly 2 centuries. They turn ambitious young men into loyal brothers, instill a sense of purpose, and create an invisible web of obligation that stretches far beyond Yale's stone walls. They are the tools by which Skull and Bones has built an enduring empire of influence, hidden in plain sight. From the earliest days of Skull and Bones, its members set their sights beyond the ivy-covered walls of Yale. They carried their secret oaths and lifelong loyalties into the corridors of power, creating a network that would come to influence every level of American society. This brotherhood has produced some of the nation's most powerful leaders, from presidents to senators, judges, and intelligence chiefs. Their rise to prominence demonstrates how a secret society founded on shared secrets and mutual support can shape the course of a nation. The first Bonesman to reach the presidency was William Howard Taft, the 27th President of the United States, who graduated from Yale in 1878 and was a member of the Skull and Bones class of that year. Taft's career is a case study in the power of connections. He went on to become Secretary of War, President, and later Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the only person in history to have led both the executive and judicial branches of the federal government. His path was guided by mentors and peers from Skull and Bones, who opened doors and helped him secure key appointments. The Bush family represents perhaps the most striking example of Skull and Bones' influence at the highest level of American politics. George Herbert Walker Bush, known to his brothers as Magog, was a member of the Skull and Bones class of 1948. After Yale, he embarked on a career that included serving as a congressman, ambassador to the United Nations, director of the Central Intelligence Agency, vice president, and ultimately the 41st President of the United States. His Bonesmen ties provided him with lifelong allies in government and business, helping him navigate crises from the Gulf War to the end of the Cold War. His son, George Walker Bush, followed in his footsteps. A member of the Skull and Bones class of 1968, George W. Bush became the 43rd President of the United States. The continuity of two generations of Bonesmen occupying the Oval Office within a span of just 12 years is unprecedented in American history. It demonstrates how Skull and Bones operates not only as a college society, but as a dynasty builder, uniting families across generations through shared ritual and purpose. One of the most revealing moments in the modern history of Skull and Bones came during the 2004 presidential election. That year, both major party candidates were Bonesmen. On the Republican side stood incumbent President George W. Bush. His challenger on the Democratic ticket was John Kerry, a member of the Skull and Bones class of 1966. The spectacle of two members of the same secret society vying for the highest office in the land fueled conspiracy theories and public fascination. When a television interviewer asked both candidates about their membership, they offered identical terse replies, refusing to elaborate. The moment highlighted the enduring power of the oath of silence. Beyond the presidency, Skull and Bones alumni have held key positions across the federal government. Several senators, congressmen, governors, and cabinet secretaries trace their roots to the society. These include William Bundy and his brother McGeorge Bundy, influential architects of Cold War policy. McGeorge served as National Security Advisor to Presidents Kennedy and Johnson, playing a central role in decisions about Vietnam. His Bonesman status connected him to a network of officials in defense and intelligence circles. In the world of intelligence, Skull and Bones has a particularly strong presence. Aside from George H.W. Bush's tenure as CIA director, the Society's alumni have included figures who shaped American covert operations during the Cold War. Their roles often went unrecognized by the public, but within the intelligence community, their Bonesman background was an open secret that facilitated trust and collaboration. The judiciary has also felt the Society's influence. Bonesmen have served as federal judges and clerks to Supreme Court justices, building legal careers that shaped interpretations of constitutional law. Their presence in the legal system has helped ensure that Skull and Bones maintains an invisible hand in debates over rights, regulations, and the balance of power between branches of government. This web of influence extends beyond public service into the private sector. Bonesmen have founded or led some of the nation's most powerful corporations, including investment banks, law firms, and media companies. Their ties provide access to capital, insider knowledge, and protection against competitors. In this way, Skull and Bones functions as a bridge between government and business, creating an elite that can move seamlessly between public office and corporate boardrooms. Yet, It is not simply the number of bonesmen in positions of authority that makes their power remarkable. It is the way they support one another throughout life, offering mentorship, funding campaigns, and facilitating introductions that lead to new opportunities. This system of mutual assistance operates quietly but effectively, ensuring that members rarely face obstacles alone. Critics argue that this arrangement undermines the principles of meritocracy and democratic openness. When key positions are filled through hidden networks, it raises questions about accountability and fairness. Proponents of Skull and Bones, however, see it as a natural expression of loyalty and fraternity, a way for exceptional individuals to help one another achieve greatness. The Bonesmen's influence can also be felt in moments of crisis. During times of war, economic turmoil, or political scandal, alumni have convened to discuss strategies, share information, and rally support. These gatherings, often informal and off the record, have allowed Bonesmen to coordinate responses that shape public policy. Some historians believe that the Society's members played quiet roles in stabilizing Wall Street during financial panics or advising presidents during international conflicts. In popular culture, the idea of a secret society, controlling world events from the shadows, has become a trope. Yet the documented achievements of Skull and Bones alumni suggest that the truth, while less dramatic, is no less significant. The Society has produced an unbroken chain of leaders who have guided America through wars, depressions, and social transformations. Their fingerprints can be found on treaties, laws, and landmark Supreme Court decisions. The brotherhood of power is not a fantasy invented by conspiracy theorists. It is a real network, built over generations, that has shaped the modern United States in ways both visible and hidden. The stories of Taft, the Bush family, and the many other Bonesmen who have held high office reveal how Skull and Bones has fulfilled its original mission: to create an American aristocracy that wields quiet but decisive influence. Beyond politics and government, the reach of Skull and Bones extends deep into the world of finance, media, and international affairs. Over generations, members of the Society have woven an intricate web of influence that stretches from the boardrooms of Wall Street to the corridors of global power. This network of Bonesmen has shaped not only American economic policy, but also the way information flows to the public and how the nation positions itself on the world stage. The roots of this financial empire can be traced back to members like W. Averell Harriman, a prominent Bonesman from the class of 1913. Harriman was the son of railroad tycoon Edward H. Harriman and used his family's fortune and connections to build an extraordinary career. After Yale, he founded Brown Brothers Harriman, a bank that became one of the most powerful private financial institutions in the United States. The firm provided services to presidents, corporations, and foreign governments, acting as both banker and informal advisor to many of the most influential people of the 20th century. Harriman's influence did not stop at finance. He served as ambassador to the Soviet Union during World War II, governor of New York, and a key advisor in shaping America's response to global conflicts. His dual roles as banker and diplomat exemplify how Bonesmen have often blurred the lines between private interests and public service, using one to enhance the other. Harriman's success inspired future generations of Bonesmen to follow a similar path, combining careers in business with strategic roles in government. On Wall Street, other Bonesmen have left their mark at firms like J.P. Morgan, Lehman Brothers, and Goldman Sachs. These men leveraged the Skull and Bones network to secure positions, attract investments, and navigate crises. They used shared membership as a foundation of trust, knowing that a fellow Bonesman would protect their interests and honor agreements even in the fiercely competitive world of finance. In law, Skull and Bones members have become partners and founders of some of the nation's most prestigious firms. These include white shoe law offices that advise the largest corporations and handle matters involving billions of dollars. Through these firms, Bonesmen have shaped mergers, acquisitions, and the crafting of corporate strategies that affect entire industries. Their legal expertise has also been essential during times of regulatory upheaval, when their connections in Washington could soften the impact of new policies on their clients. The media has not been immune to the society's reach. Bonesmen have occupied key positions as publishers, editors, and executives at major newspapers, magazines, and broadcasting companies. By influencing what stories are told and how they are framed, they have helped shape public opinion and guide the national conversation. Some of these media executives have used their platforms to support policies and political candidates aligned with the interests of the Skull and Bones network, reinforcing the society's ability to steer events from behind the scenes. One of the most powerful ways the web of influence has expanded is through the Council on Foreign Relations, commonly known as the CFR. This influential organization was founded in 1921 to promote understanding of global affairs and to guide American foreign policy. It brings together leaders from government, finance, academia, and media. Many prominent Bonesmen have served as members, directors, or advisors to the CFR, using it as a forum to share ideas and coordinate strategies on issues ranging from trade to war. The CFR has played a critical role in shaping the international order since World War II. Its members have helped design major treaties, economic programs like the Marshall Plan, and the structures of organizations such as NATO and the United Nations. Bonesmen within the CFR have worked alongside other elites to ensure that American power is projected effectively around the world. Their presence in this organization underscores how Skull and Bones alumni have transcended national borders to exert global influence. The power of the Skull and Bones network does not come solely from formal positions or official titles. It also rests on an informal but highly effective system of mentorship and mutual assistance. Older Bonesmen help younger members find jobs, secure funding for ventures, and gain introductions to influential figures. These relationships often begin at Yale but can last a lifetime, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of privilege that passes from one generation to the next. This system of support is not limited to American soil. As Bonesmen take roles in international organizations, multinational corporations, and diplomatic missions, they bring their loyalties with them, extending the network's reach into Europe, Asia, Africa, and beyond. These global connections have allowed the society to anticipate shifts in international markets, navigate political upheavals, and broker deals that shape the balance of power among nations. Critics of Skull and Bones argue that this web of influence represents a hidden aristocracy that operates without oversight or accountability. They contend that the society's members use their positions to protect each other and maintain control over key sectors of the economy and government, often at the expense of transparency and fairness. Defenders counter that Skull and Bones simply reflects human nature, providing a support network for talented individuals who share common values and ambitions. Regardless of perspective, the evidence of the society's reach is clear. Bonesmen have occupied leadership roles at institutions like the Federal Reserve, the World Bank, and international investment firms. They have advised presidents, negotiated with foreign leaders, and guided corporate strategies that affect millions of people. The connections they forge through Skull and Bones give them access to resources and information unavailable to outsiders. This web of influence has also allowed Bonesmen to weather scandals and crises that might have destroyed less connected individuals. When financial firms faced collapse or executives were accused of misconduct, fellow Bonesmen in positions of power could offer advice, support, or quiet intervention to limit the damage. Such actions demonstrate the practical benefits of membership beyond the symbolism of ritual or tradition. For nearly 2 centuries, Skull and Bones has proven that true power often resides not in official titles, but in relationships built on trust and secrecy. Through banking, media, law, and international affairs, the Society's members have created an invisible architecture of influence that helps shape the destiny of nations. Their web of connections is a testament to the enduring strength of bonds forged in the shadows of the tomb. Among the many legends that swirl around Skull and Bones, none is as disturbing or persistent as the story of Geronimo's skull. According to generations of rumor and some compelling but contested evidence, members of Skull and Bones stole the skull of the famous Apache leader from his grave in Oklahoma and brought it to the tomb in New Haven. There, it is said, the skull became a dark trophy, a symbol of the Society's power and reach, and an object used in their secret rituals. Geronimo, the fierce Apache warrior, resisted the United States Army for years before finally surrendering in 1886. He spent the last years of his life as a prisoner of war, dying in 1909 at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. He was buried in the Fort Sill Apache Cemetery, but in the years following his death, whispers began that his remains had been disturbed. The most sensational claim came from a document allegedly written in 1918, in which a Skull and Bones member described how a group of Bonesmen, including Prescott Bush, father of President George H.W. Bush, dug up Geronimo's grave during World War I and carried the skull, some bones, and personal items back to Yale. For decades, this story was known only within conspiracy circles and Skull and Bones lore. But in 2009, on the 100th anniversary of Geronimo's death, his descendants filed a lawsuit in federal court demanding the return of his remains. The suit named Yale University, the Order of Skull and Bones, and even the federal government. The plaintiffs argued that if the skull was in the tomb, it should be repatriated to Geronimo's rightful descendants so he could rest in peace. The case attracted national and international attention, bringing the legend of Geronimo's skull into the mainstream. Reporters, historians, and tribal leaders debated whether the theft had really happened. Some researchers pointed to letters and photographs from the early 20th century showing Bonesmen posing with what appeared to be a Native American skull. Others argued that there was no concrete proof, only stories passed down over generations of Skull and Bones members. The U.S. Army, which oversees Fort Sill, conducted a review of Geronimo's grave, but concluded that it showed no obvious signs of disturbance. Critics of the investigation pointed out that a century of time and weather could have erased evidence of tampering, or that the wrong grave might have been examined. Yale University and Skull and Bones have never publicly commented on the allegations, maintaining their tradition of complete silence on society matters. For many Native Americans, the idea that the remains of a revered leader were stolen as a college prank or ritualistic trophy is a deep offense. It reflects a painful history of grave robbing and the desecration of Native American burial sites by outsiders who saw indigenous remains as curiosities or symbols of conquest. The possibility that Geronimo's skull is kept in a secret society's clubhouse for privileged students underscores a legacy of cultural disrespect and exploitation. At the same time, some historians argue that the Geronimo skull story may be a myth that grew out of the atmosphere of secrecy and elitism surrounding Skull and Bones. They suggest the tale was invented or exaggerated to enhance the society's mystique and to intimidate new initiates with a symbol of power obtained through audacious means. The absence of definitive evidence has allowed the legend to flourish, fueling both fascination and outrage. What is undeniable is the symbolic power the story holds. Whether or not the skull in the tomb actually belonged to Geronimo, it has come to represent the idea that Skull and Bones will go to any lengths, even defiling a hero's grave, to demonstrate its reach and control. Within the lore of the society, the skull is said to play a role in rituals, possibly as an object before which initiates swear their loyalty or confess their secrets. The image of young men kneeling before the skull of a defeated warrior captures the dark heart of the society's myths. The lawsuit by Geronimo's descendants was ultimately dismissed in federal court, partly because of jurisdictional issues and the difficulty of proving the theft after so many years. But the case reignited debates over how America treats its indigenous history, the legacy of colonialism, and the ethics of secret societies that use human remains in their traditions. It also reminded the public that even the most powerful institutions cannot escape the moral weight of the past. Today, the whereabouts of Geronimo's skull remain uncertain. Some believe it lies in the tomb, hidden in a glass case alongside other relics said to include bones from European catacombs and artifacts from ancient civilizations. Others think the story was a hoax or misunderstanding, a campfire tale taken too seriously. Yet every year, as new members enter Skull and Bones, they inherit the legend of Geronimo's skull, whether it is true or not, and the message it carries about power, conquest, and secrecy. The myth of the stolen skull continues to shape perceptions of Skull and Bones. It embodies the society's reputation for audacity, its willingness to cross boundaries, and the idea that its members see themselves as above ordinary laws and customs. Whether fact or fiction, the story endures because it captures the essence of what Skull and Bones represents to both its critics and its members, a secret fraternity willing to do whatever it takes to remind the world of its existence and to bind its initiates together with symbols as dark and provocative as any found in American history. For nearly 2 centuries, Skull and Bones has guarded its secrets with extraordinary success. Its members swear an oath of silence, and very few have ever dared to break it. Yet over the years, cracks have appeared in the wall of secrecy. Journalists, researchers, and even a handful of former members or their relatives have come forward to offer glimpses into the shadowy world of the society. These revelations, though often partial and contested, have provided rare insights into what happens behind the locked doors of the tomb. One of the earliest and most influential investigations was conducted by journalist Ron Rosenbaum in the 1970s. Rosenbaum, intrigued by the persistent rumors surrounding skull and bones, spent months interviewing Yale students, alumni, and university staff. In his reporting, he described strange sounds emerging from the tomb at night, including chants and shouts that echoed through the empty courtyards. He collected stories of initiation rituals that involved lying in coffins, confessions of personal secrets, and elaborate performances. Though he never gained access to the tomb itself, Rosenbaum's work helped bring Skull and Bones to national attention, planting the seeds of modern fascination with the society. Other journalists have tried to penetrate Skull and Bones with mixed results. Alexandra Robbins, a Yale graduate herself, wrote a detailed account in her book, published in 2002. She interviewed dozens of current and former Yale students, gathering stories about the selection process, the rituals, and the social dynamics of the society. Robbins described how the 15 seniors chosen each year were told that their membership would guarantee lifelong connections to power. She recounted anecdotes of initiates being given new nicknames, participating in bizarre theatrical ceremonies, and swearing absolute loyalty. Perhaps the most striking revelations have come from individuals connected by blood to Skull and Bones members. Charlotte Kane, whose grandfather was a Bonesman in the 1920s, shared letters and diary entries that hinted at the intensity of the initiation process. In these writings, her grandfather described feelings of fear and exhilaration during the first nights inside the tomb, and a sense of transformation as he emerged bound to his new brothers. He also noted the unspoken rule that personal and professional favors were expected among Bonesmen, a pact that often helped secure positions in law, finance, or government. Despite these glimpses, much about Skull and Bones remains hidden. Members continue to refuse interviews or respond only with cryptic denials. The Society's alumni have been remarkably consistent in maintaining silence, even when pressed by reporters or biographers. Some believe this discipline is enforced not just by personal honor, but by the power of the network itself. For a Bonesman, betraying the Society's secrets could mean losing the support of a lifetime of powerful connections. One of the few times Skull and Bones was forced into the public eye came during the 2004 presidential election, when both major candidates, George W. Bush and John Kerry, were Bonesmen. Reporters eagerly asked them about their membership. Their identical responses were strikingly brief and carefully worded, each man acknowledging the Society but refusing to say anything more. The moment underscored how even the most prominent members of Skull and Bones would not break their vow. Some former members have given anonymous interviews, sharing details of the Society's traditions while hiding their identities. These interviews describe a mix of seriousness and theatricality, with rituals designed both to impress and to bind. They talk of initiates confessing secrets, adopting nicknames, and participating in ceremonies involving skulls and symbols. They also describe intense bonding experiences that create lifelong loyalty. Yet these anonymous accounts are often contradictory, adding to the confusion rather than clarifying the truth. Some say the rituals are mostly harmless pranks, while others insist they are psychologically manipulative and designed to ensure obedience. Because Skull and Bones operates without oversight or official records, it is impossible to separate fact from embellishment with certainty. The persistence of secrecy has inspired multiple documentary filmmakers to attempt investigations. Crews have filmed the tomb from the outside, recorded strange noises at night, and interviewed experts on secret societies. While these documentaries have fueled public interest, they have rarely uncovered new facts. Instead, they highlight how the mystery itself has become a source of power for Skull and Bones, keeping people guessing and maintaining an aura of fear and fascination. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of what has been exposed is not the details of specific rituals, but the broader pattern of how Skull and Bones members help one another. Stories of alumni quietly steering jobs to fellow Bonesmen, arranging introductions to influential figures, or intervening during scandals point to a network that operates behind the scenes. These revelations confirm that the society's real strength lies not in the theatrics of initiation, but in the enduring loyalty that connects members across decades. Despite occasional disclosures, much remains unknown. What exactly is read from the Society's founding documents each year? What secrets are shared during confession? How decisions are made about which juniors will be tapped for membership? The answers to these questions remain locked within the tomb, passed down only through whispered words from one generation to the next. For every journalist or whistleblower who sheds light on Skull and Bones, many more remain silent. The pressure to keep the oath, combined with the advantages membership provides, ensures that the full story of the society is unlikely to be told anytime soon. As long as its members rise to positions of power and continue to honor their pledge, Skull and Bones will maintain its secrets. What has been revealed, however, is enough to confirm that Skull and Bones is more than a harmless college tradition. It is a network of influence that stretches into the highest levels of American life, sustained by silence and bound by secrets that few outside its circle will ever truly know. Since its founding, Skull and Bones has been the subject of endless speculation. The Society's secrecy, powerful alumni, and dramatic symbols have combined to create a fertile ground for conspiracy theories. Some of these theories are wild and improbable, while others rest on curious patterns and strange coincidences that have kept investigators and skeptics intrigued for generations. One of the most persistent ideas is that Skull and Bones serves as a hidden steering committee for American policy. According to this theory, Bonesmen use their positions in government, finance, and media to coordinate decisions that benefit the society's goals. Supporters of this view point to the impressive list of Bonesmen in key roles, from presidents and cabinet members to Supreme Court clerks and intelligence chiefs. They argue that it is unlikely such a small group could repeatedly place its members in positions of influence by chance alone. The theory goes further, suggesting that Skull and Bones is not only interested in domestic power, but in shaping foreign affairs. Some researchers argue that Bonesmen played secret roles in decisions leading up to wars, economic treaties, and intelligence operations. They cite moments in history when alumni appeared to move in concert, as if guided by an unseen hand, such as the planning of post-war strategies during World War II or Cold War policies on nuclear weapons. Another set of theories links Skull and Bones to older and more famous secret organizations, such as the Illuminati and the Freemasons. Those who believe in this connection argue that Skull and Bones is a direct descendant of European secret orders, designed to bring their missions to the New World. They note the society's fascination with symbols of death, its hierarchical structure, and the use of rituals reminiscent of Freemasonry. Some even claim that Skull and Bones members continue the Illuminati's alleged goal of creating a single global order controlled by a hidden elite. Supporters of this theory point to similarities between Skull and Bones symbols and those found in Masonic lodges. The number 322, which appears throughout the society's lore, is said by some to reference ancient pacts formed in the wake of Alexander the Great's death. Others believe it encodes a date or message passed down from the Illuminati. These connections remain speculative, but they have inspired countless books, films, and television shows. Some conspiracy theories focus on strange coincidences involving major events and Bonesmen. One example is the 2004 presidential election, when both George W. Bush and John Kerry were members of Skull and Bones. For many observers, the fact that both candidates in a supposedly open Democratic race belonged to the same secret society was too remarkable to ignore. It led to questions about whether voters were truly choosing between different visions or merely between two representatives of the same hidden order. Another example often cited is the timing of key decisions in financial markets. During periods of crisis, such as the collapse of investment firms or sudden shifts in monetary policy, conspiracy theorists claim that Bonesmen in banking and government moved quickly to protect each other's interests. They see in these moments evidence of a quiet but powerful alliance working behind the scenes. Some theories go even further, suggesting that Skull and Bones serves as a recruitment ground for a shadow government, sometimes called the Deep State. According to this view, members of the society continue to influence policies regardless of who holds elected office, ensuring that certain strategies and alliances remain in place from one administration to the next. Believers argue that this explains why some foreign or economic policies seem to persist across both Republican and Democratic presidents, reflecting the continuity of an elite consensus rather than the will of voters. Critics of these theories point out that powerful families and well-connected individuals have always influenced politics and business, with or without secret societies. They argue that it is natural for elite institutions like Yale to produce graduates who rise to the top, and that Skull and Bones simply reflects the social networks of America's ruling class. In this view, coincidences are inevitable when a small group of people occupies many important roles. Yet the very nature of Skull and Bones fuels suspicion. The society's refusal to discuss its activities, the absence of official records, and the dramatic legends that surround it invite speculation. When questions go unanswered, imaginations fill the void, and each new discovery or revelation adds to the sense of mystery. Even some members of Skull and Bones have acknowledged the power of these theories. In rare anonymous interviews, a few Bonesmen have suggested that the society benefits from the aura of secrecy, which amplifies its mystique and enhances the bonds among members. By appearing more powerful than it might truly be, Skull and Bones can influence how others react to its alumni, opening doors and commanding respect. Popular culture has helped keep these theories alive. Films like The Skulls and countless documentaries have portrayed Skull and Bones as a sinister force behind global events. Novels and thrillers have used the society as a symbol of hidden power. These stories may exaggerate or invent details, but they keep the society in the public imagination, blurring the line between fact and fiction. In the end, whether Skull and Bones is truly orchestrating grand conspiracies or simply benefits from extraordinary coincidences remains an open question. What is certain is that the society's reputation as a hidden power broker endures, and each new class of Bonesmen inherits not only the traditions of their predecessors, but also the suspicion and intrigue that have surrounded the order since its founding. At the core of Skull and Bones is a strict code of silence and loyalty that binds its members for life. This unwritten but universally understood set of rules has helped the society preserve its secrets for nearly 2 centuries. The code is not merely a tradition, but a powerful mechanism of control ensuring that even the most ambitious or rebellious Bonesman understands the price of betrayal. It is a code that promises support and protection, but demands absolute fidelity in return. From the first moments of initiation, new members learn the seriousness of this commitment. They are told that loyalty to the order surpasses any other allegiance, including those to employers, political parties, or even their own families. This message is reinforced through the confession ritual, where sharing personal secrets creates mutual vulnerability. By confessing to fellow initiates, each member becomes part of a web of trust and risk that extends beyond the walls of Yale and into every stage of their lives. The society's code is rooted in simple but absolute rules. Members are forbidden from disclosing the details of rituals, symbols, or the identities of other Bonesmen to outsiders. They are expected to support each other's ambitions, provide assistance in times of crisis, and offer discreet guidance to younger members. Any breach of these expectations can lead to ostracism, loss of valuable connections, or worse. One of the most important aspects of the Bonesmen's Code is the practice of mutual aid. Alumni refer to it as the lifelong pact. If a Bonesman finds himself in legal trouble seeking a new job or in need of influence to secure a contract, he can quietly reach out to a fellow member for help. Stories abound of graduates rising quickly through the ranks of Wall Street or government because older members vouched for them or arranged critical introductions. These favors are never documented but are remembered and repaid, strengthening the bonds of the network. But the code is not only about favors, it also enforces discipline. Those who stray from the society's expectations face consequences. Though public examples are rare, there have been occasions when members have allegedly leaked information or spoken too freely about the society. In such cases, other Bonesmen have reportedly cut off ties, leading to professional setbacks and social isolation. Some have seen promising careers stall when the invisible support of the Bonesmen network was withdrawn. The power of the code lies in its quiet enforcement. There is no formal tribunal or punishment handed down by a council. Instead, the society relies on the strength of its alumni network. A few well-placed words to the right people can close doors, end opportunities, or tarnish reputations. Because many bonesmen hold positions of influence, this informal system of discipline can be more effective than any official sanction. Throughout the history of Skull and Bones, stories of loyalty beyond reason have emerged. In times of scandal or personal crisis, bonesmen have gone to great lengths to protect each other. There are tales of secret funds used to help a member facing bankruptcy or legal trouble. Others speak of quiet interventions to suppress embarrassing stories in the media or to sway legal decisions behind the scenes. While these accounts are difficult to verify, they illustrate the deep commitment bonesmen have to preserving the society's integrity and shielding its members. Conversely, the society's records hint at the fates of those who cross the line. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, several members are believed to have violated the oath by sharing details with outsiders or attempting to profit from their knowledge of the society. Though these incidents rarely became public, the individuals involved were reportedly cut off from the Bonesmen network. Some found themselves unable to secure employment in fields where other bonesmen dominated. Over time, their names faded from society records, erased as if they had never existed. This strict enforcement of loyalty is not only about maintaining secrecy, but also about preserving the society's culture. The Bonesman's Code instills a sense of belonging and duty, reminding each member that he is part of a lineage that stretches back generations. By upholding the code, members honor their predecessors and ensure that the order remains intact for future classes. The fear of exclusion or disgrace serves as a powerful incentive to stay true to the society's principles. The code also extends beyond death. Bonesmen who achieve great success are expected to contribute back to the society, often through donations or by mentoring new members. Obituaries of prominent bonesmen sometimes include references to their lifelong loyalty, though rarely mentioning the society by name. Memorial services can include discreet gestures known only to fellow members, signaling that the bonds of the order endure even after a member has passed away. This tradition of loyalty beyond death reinforces the idea that Skull and Bones is more than a college club. It is a fraternity with the seriousness of a sworn brotherhood, a network whose power relies on the steadfastness of each link in the chain. The enduring strength of this code helps explain why the society has survived scandal, social change, and shifting political tides without ever fully revealing its secrets. In an era where privacy is increasingly difficult to maintain, the Bonesman's Code remains remarkably effective. Despite modern technology, relentless media scrutiny, and cultural shifts toward openness, Skull and Bones continues to operate in near-total secrecy. The code's effectiveness is a testament to the society's ability to inspire fear, respect, or both among its members. The Bonesman's Code is more than a set of rules. It is the foundation of the society's power and the reason its secrets have endured for nearly 2 centuries. It demands a level of commitment that few organizations can match and offers in return a lifetime of support and protection. Through this code, Skull and Bones has maintained its place as one of the most mysterious and influential secret societies in American history. In the modern era, Skull and Bones stands at a crossroads. For nearly 2 centuries, it has cultivated an aura of power, secrecy, and privilege unmatched by any other college society in America. Yet today, as society changes and the old traditions of elite institutions come under scrutiny, some wonder if Skull and Bones still wields the influence it once did, or if it has become a relic of a bygone age. Each spring, 15 new Yale juniors continue to be tapped for membership, and the ceremony still follows many of the same rituals established in the 19th century. The tomb remains the center of society life, and the oath of silence continues to bind each new class. Yet the world outside the stone walls has changed dramatically. Social media, increased calls for transparency, and shifting attitudes toward privilege and exclusivity have forced Skull and Bones to adapt, at least in small ways, to survive. Recent members come from more diverse backgrounds than in the past, reflecting changes at Yale itself. Where Skull and Bones once almost exclusively selected white men from wealthy, connected families, today's Bonesmen include women and individuals from varied racial and socio-economic backgrounds. This evolution has helped the society remain relevant to a new generation of students, but it has also led to debates among alumni about whether broadening membership weakens the society's bonds or strengthens them. Despite these changes, many of the core traditions remain intact. The confessions, nicknames, and secret meetings still form the backbone of the Bonesman experience. Alumni continue to gather at reunions, both formal and informal, to renew connections and share advice. The network remains a powerful tool for career advancement, providing introductions and support in fields ranging from law and finance to politics and media. Yet the extent of Skull and Bones' power today is difficult to measure. While many Bonesmen continue to achieve high office and prominent positions, they no longer dominate the American establishment as they once did. The political landscape has diversified, and pathways to influence have opened for people outside the traditional elite. Technology entrepreneurs, activists, and figures from outside the Ivy League increasingly shape the national conversation and policy decisions. Some historians argue that the rise of new centers of power, such as Silicon Valley and grassroots political movements, has diluted the influence of old networks like Skull and Bones. Where once Bonesmen might have been the undisputed gatekeepers of opportunity, today they must compete with a broader array of voices and interests. The days when the society could quietly steer candidates to the presidency or coordinate corporate strategies from behind closed doors may be over. Others caution against dismissing Skull and Bones too quickly. They note that the society still attracts students with extraordinary ambition and talent, many of whom go on to hold significant positions. The prestige of Skull and Bones remains a powerful credential in certain circles, and the society's alumni include leaders in multinational corporations, influential law firms, and top levels of government service. While its influence may not be as total as it once was, it has hardly disappeared. Skull and Bones' mystique continues to thrive in popular culture, even if its real power is debated. The society appears frequently in novels, conspiracy documentaries, and fictional thrillers. Films like The Skulls portray it as a dark force behind global events, while countless television shows reference it as the archetype of the secret society. These portrayals keep Skull and Bones alive in the public imagination, ensuring that each new generation hears the legends of the tomb and the mysterious number 322. Books and investigative reports still revisit the society's history and speculate about its modern role. Journalists seeking new angles often highlight how the society has evolved, examining its efforts to diversify or speculating on whether it remains a serious player in politics. The lack of official statements from Skull and Bones only fuels this fascination. Its silence invites interpretation, allowing myths to flourish alongside the facts. Recent controversies about income inequality, privilege, and the role of elite institutions in American life have also brought new attention to Skull and Bones. Critics argue that secret societies perpetuate systems of power that exclude outsiders and undermine democratic ideals. They question whether an organization built on secrecy and mutual advancement can have a place in a society that aspires to openness and fairness. Defenders counter that Skull and Bones is simply a social network, no different from professional associations or alumni groups, and that its traditions foster camaraderie rather than conspiracy. One undeniable fact is that Skull and Bones has proven remarkably durable. Many college societies have faded or lost relevance as times changed, but Skull and Bones has persisted through wars, economic crises, social upheavals, and cultural revolutions. Its continued existence speaks to the strength of its traditions and the loyalty of its members. It also raises a question that remains unanswered. Does Skull and Bones endure because it still shapes the world, or simply because it has mastered the art of appearing powerful? Today, the tomb stands as it has for over a century and a half, a silent sentinel watching over Yale's campus. Tourists still pause to take photos, students still whisper rumors, and journalists still seek interviews that never come. The society remains a fixture in the mythology of American power, a reminder that even in an age of information, some secrets are carefully kept. As Skull and Bones looks to the future, it must navigate a world that is both more connected and more skeptical than ever before. Whether it will continue to influence American leadership or become a symbolic relic of the past depends on its ability to adapt without sacrificing the mystery that defines it. And so the story of Skull and Bones ends, for now, with a question that has haunted it from the beginning. In a nation founded on democratic ideals, can a secret society born of privilege and bound by silence still shape the destiny of the most powerful country in the world? Or has its time as an invisible empire finally passed into history? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the shadows of Skull and Bones. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden stories, please subscribe to KTK History for more investigations into the secrets that shaped our world. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know what other mysteries you would like us to explore together.